While we want something, we suffer because we don't have it. And when we finally get it, we suffer because now what? We know how to set goals, how to hustle, how to visualize, how to manifest, how to romanticize our next level, but no one sits us down and says, by the way, even when you get there, you might still feel empty. And you'll also feel guilty for it because you'll think, I worked so hard for this. Why am I not happier? Okay, quick pause. This channel is still an English learning channel, but I want to explore different ideas, so I decided something. I'm gonna talk about the things that I genuinely care about, and I'll turn each topic into a free practice sheet. Today, we're using philosophy to practice advanced English. There's a free PDF for this video, vocabulary and writing practice. It's not kind of passive practices, it's active thinking, and it's more like exploring ideas in English. And it is available in my Telegram channel, and you can find the link in the description below. Okay, now let's continue. We usually believe happiness is waiting for us in the future. If I achieve this, I feel confident. If I move there, I feel free. If I earn that much money, I'll finally relax. It always had the same structure. Once I get X, then I'll be okay. But the moment you reach X, your mind quietly replaces it with Y and then Z, and suddenly X and Y feels ordinary. I had a lot of philosophy modules during my master degree, and I saw this concept there. There's a philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, who described life as a constant oscillation between desire and boredom. Oscillation like a pendulum swinging back and forth. On one side, there is desire, and on the other side, there is boredom. While we desire something, we feel restless. We feel incomplete, tense. There's a subtle suffering in wanting because wanting means lacking. And once we get the thing, the tension disappears, but so does the excitement. And that's when boredom creeps in. So, what do? We create another desire, another goal, another milestone, another person, another version of ourselves. And we convince ourselves this one will be different, but most of the time, it isn't. Think about your own life for a second. Remember something you desperately wanted. Maybe it was getting into a specific university, landing a job, being with someone, hitting a number on the scale, moving to a new city. Remember how interested that desire felt, how it shaped your days, how it gave your morning direction. Now, think about what happened after you got it. Be honest, how long did the high last? A week? A month? Maybe less? Then life returned to normal, and that's when the dangerous thought appears. Maybe this wasn't it. But the problem isn't that it wasn't it. The problem is that we thought any external thing could permanently satisfy an internal restlessness. Existential philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus took this even further. They argued that goals give temporary structure to our lives. When you're chasing something, your days have shape. There's a narrative. You're becoming someone. You're progressing. But once the goal is achieved, that structure collapses, and you're suddenly face to face with something much bigger: freedom. And freedom sounds good until you realize it also means responsibility. It means there's no built in meaning, and you have to create it. You have to create that meaning. And that's terrifying because when the structure disappears, you're left with a big question: who am I without the chase? I remember reaching one of my major goals that I had fantasized for years, and I thought that moment would change everything, that I would wake up the next day transformed. But just a couple of days later, I woke up and it felt like any other day. Nothing around me felt transferred. Nothing inside me felt transferred. My insecurities were still there. So was my depression. And I thought, is something wrong with me? Why wasn't I why wasn't I glowing? Why didn't I feel permanently upgraded? Maybe I'm just not grateful enough. And here we have another thinker, Jean Lacan. He said something radical. Desire is never really about the object itself, it's about lack. And according to him, we desire because we feel something is missing, and we project that missing piece into objects, people, achievements. We tell ourselves that thing will complete me. But once we get it, a deeper absence remains. So desire doesn't disappear, it relocates. That's why the mind is so good at moving the finish line. You get a job, now you want a promotion. You get a relationship, now you want reassurance. You reach financial stability, now you want financial freedom. It's endless. And here's the shocking part. Sometimes it feels like we didn't actually want the thing. We wanted to want, because wanting gives us movement. It gives us hope. It gives us a future to run toward. Desire creates momentum, and without it, we feel still. And stillness can be uncomfortable. But think of it like this: the discomfort after achievement isn't failure, and it's just the pendulum swinging. Schopenhauer saw this cycle as tragic, life as a loop between restless striving and dull emptiness. And in my opinion, I don't see it as tragic anymore. I see it as revealing, because once you understand a pattern, you stop being shocked by it. You stop interrupting the now what? You start seeing it as a natural phase. And let me ask you something. How many times have you postponed your happiness? I'll be proud of myself when, or I don't know, I will relax when, I'll celebrate when. And what if happiness isn't waiting at a finish line? What if it's something you practice during a race? Camus once wrote about Sisyphus, the man condemned to push a rock up a hill forever, only for it to roll back down. And it sounds like torture. But let's think of it like this. We must imagine Sisyphus happy, not because he reaches the top, but because he have to keep pushing, because meaning isn't in the outcome, it's in the engagement. And maybe our goals are like that rock. We push, we reach, it rolls down, we choose another, and we push again. And the mistake is believing that the top of the hill will finally make us complete, happy, whole. But wholeness isn't at the top, it's in how we climb. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not anti ambition. I love goals, I love dreaming, I love imagining a bigger version of myself. But I have stopped believing that the next milestone will save me, because every time I expected that, I ended up disappointed. Not because the achievement wasn't real, but because I had turned it into a solution for an internal void. And the mind will always generates new targets. That's what it does, but you don't have to let it dictate your sense of value. The next time you achieve something and feel that quiet emptiness that creeping in, don't panic, don't rush to feel it. Just sit with it for a moment. Notice the silence, notice the space, and instead of immediately asking, what's next? Try asking, what's here? What am I feeling? What do I actually need? Who am I without this goal? Because maybe the most radical thing you can do, and avoid obsessed with chasing, is to pause, to realize that no object, no person, no milestone can permanently erase the human condition of wanting. And that's not a flaw, That's part of being alive. You desire again, you will strive again, you will imagine a new future again, but maybe next time you'll walk toward it differently. Not as someone who is incomplete and desperate, but as someone who is already complete and whole and happy, simply choosing growth. And when you reach that next goal and that little voice whisper, okay, now what? You know what's going on because you'll understand the pattern. And instead of chasing the next illusion immediately, you'll take a breath and answer, now I live. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.